Hello friends, hope you are fine. Today the podcast about Ketu in the 12th house. What will be the results of Ketu when it's placed in 12th house? Now, as I mentioned that Ketu is a planet of general malefic nature, one can't expect anything positive out of it. And I request all the people, all the natives rather, never ever use cat's eye when Ketu is placed in 6th house, 8th house, and 12th house, because these are extremely worst placements for Ketu. And what it does actually, since Ketu does not have its own sign, it does not possess, neither Rahu possesses any sign, neither Ketu possesses any sign among the 12 zodiac signs. So it won't activate any house, by using cat's eye. It can't, activate the significations of any particular sign because it's signless planet. So when Ketu is placed in 12th house, it activates the negative significations of the 12th house, and Ketu becomes a matter of concern, especially when it afflicts its house of placement in the 12th house. It leads to heavy losses, it leads to lack of mental peace, it leads to lack of sleep, it leads to heavy losses also, which results from heavy expenses. There are issues in mental peace also. There are issues with marital relationships, there are issues with respect to property matters, problems with the parents, there are issues in the left eye also, and in the heart also, and there are issues. It spoils one's health also, isn't it? There are issues with the marital relationship, and there are financial losses to father, and it brings obstructions in life. So all these are the main effects of main results of Ketu when it afflicts its house of placement in the 12th house. In case it does not give any affliction, it does not become a matter of concern for the native, and it only creates a problem during its Antardasha in case it does not give any affliction in the chart. So what could be done now? You can't remove Ketu from 12th house, but you can do the remedies for Ketu in order to remove its malefic influence. And the problem becomes worse when Lagna arises in a Ketu nakshatra, and Ketu on the other hand gives affliction in the chart. That becomes a cause of concern. Native is unable to get success in life, to grow in life rather, because a Lagna arising in a Ketu nakshatra is a big problem, and that need remedies accordingly. Anyhow, this is all about Ketu in 12th house. However, if moon is strong, Mars are strong, moon, Mercury, and Saturn, these planets are utterly strong in the chart, Netu will be able to defend himself against the afflictions of Ketu in the chart. So Ketu won't be able to create problems in the life of the native like that. So these are the main results of Ketu in the 12th house in case of Aries ascendant. Now let us come to Taurus ascendant. As I've said that Mars is a malefic planet, most malefic planet for Taurus ascendant, and it will create more problems. And in this case, its lord is Mars itself. And as I said that Ketu is a planet of general malefic nature, one can't expect anything positive out of it. So it becomes a matter of concern when it gives affliction in the chart. If it afflicts its house of placement in the 12th house, it activates the negative significations of 12th house. So it leads to loss of mental peace, it leads to loss of sleep, it leads to heavy expenses, there are heavy losses, and there are marital issues as well, there are issues in the eyes as well, and one won't be able to settle abroad as well, if the affliction of Ketu is more than 50% in such cases. And there are issues with parents as well, there are issues with property matters as well. It spoils one's health, and it leads to financial losses to father, and it leads to obstruction in life. However, if Mars, Sun, Venus, Jupiter, and Mars, these are utterly strong in the chart, one won't face any issue despite the affliction of Ketu in the chart when it afflicts its house of placement, because the concerned planets will safeguard the significations of their houses respectively. Now, in case Ketu does not afflict its house of placement, it does not become a matter of concern for the native, and there are no issues with respect to the and there are no issues with respect to Ketu. Only it creates problem during its Antardasha, and that problem itself is low so far as extent is concerned. And what you can do, you can't remove Ketu from 12th house, but you can remove the malefic influence of Ketu, and that is possible with the proper remedies. Now the problem gets worsened if the Lagna rises in a Ketu nakshatra, and Ketu on the other hand gives afflictions in the chart. So that becomes a matter of concern for the native. Native is unable to grow in life, make progress in life despite all the efforts. So that is also the case if Lagna rises in the Ketu nakshatra. So these are main points. To subscribe the channel, the bell icon in order to get notified for upcoming videos like this. Gemini ascendant, do subscribe the channel, hit the bell icon in order to get notified for the upcoming videos like this. Ketu considered to be one of the most malefic planets for the Geminians, and it creates mess in case of Geminians. And Ketu, as I said, that it is a blend of general malefic nature. One can't expect anything positive out of it. So there are cases when it afflicts in the chart, and there are cases when it does not afflict in the chart. So in case it afflicts its house of placement in the 12th house, it becomes a matter of concern for the native. And in case it afflicts its house of placement in the 12th house, it leads to loss of mental peace, it leads to loss of sleep, it leads to heavy expenses, it leads to heavy losses. There are marital issues as well. There are issues with respect to foreign settlement as well. There are issues with respect to left eye as well, issues with the parents, problems with the property matters, problems with the assets if Mercury and Venus are weak in the chart. So there are issues with the health of mother as well if Moon is utterly weak in the chart, and it spoils one's health. There are disputes, litigations as well, and it leads to paternal financial losses, and it brings obstructions in life. So these are the main problems that one has to face out of this Ketu affliction in the 12th house. When the extent of affliction is usually more than 50%, it becomes a cause of concern, and the concerned planets itself are weak. For example, if Mercury is weak, Jupiter is weak, Mars is weak, and especially if Mercury is weak, if Moon is weak, if Mars is weak, if Saturn is weak, if these planets are weak, Ketu would create mess in the life of the native. In other case, when it does not afflict its house of placement in the 12th house, it creates problem only during its Antardasha, and that problem itself is little so far as its range is concerned, because it will depend on the other factors like the strength of other planets in the chart and the aspects, because the nature of every chart is different. So you can't remove Ketu from 12th house, but you can remove the malefic influence of Ketu, and this is what comprises the scope of astrology. This is all about Geminis with Ketu in the 12th house. Now, in case of Cancer ascendant chart, Ketu in the 12th house, it creates problems, and as I said that Ketu is a planet of general malefic nature. One can't expect anything positive out of it. So it becomes a cause of concern, a matter of concern when it afflicts its house of placement, or it afflicts other planets in the chart. In case it afflicts its house of placement in the 12th house, it leads to loss of mental peace, it leads to loss of sleep, it leads to heavy expenses, it leads to heavy losses, and one faces issues with the left eye also if Moon or Sun are weak. And there are issues with respect to foreign travel as well, and there are issues with respect to property, there are issues with respect to parents, there are issues, heart issues as well if Moon and Sun are weak, and there are issues with the assets as well if Venus and Mercury are weak, and it spoils one's health also. And there are issues like financial loss to father, and it brings obstructions in the life of the native. However, if Moon, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn are utterly strong in the chart, despite the affliction, Ketu won't be able to impact the native to such an extent. The impact would be quite low, isn't it? But the concerned planet should be utterly strong in the chart. So other cases that if Ketu does not give any affliction in the chart, it won't create any problem. It will create little problem during its Antardasha. That itself will depend on the other factors like the strength of other planets in the chart. So these are the main points that one has to consider while dealing with Ketu in the 12th house in case of Cancer ascendant. Do subscribe the channel, hit the bell icon in order to get notified for the upcoming videos like this. Now, Leo ascendant chart with Ketu in the 12th house. As I said that Ketu is a planet of general malefic nature. One can't expect anything positive out of it, and Ketu becomes a matter of concern when it afflicts its either afflicts its house of placement, or it afflicts other planets in the chart. In case it gives affliction to the 12th house, and it leads to serious concerns, and it leads to loss of mental peace, loss of uh, money also. It leads to loss of sleep, it leads to heavy expenses, it leads to issues with respect to foreign settlement, it also leads to issue with marriage, and there are issues with foreign settlement as well, and it leads to issues in the assets, it leads to issues with parents, it spoils one's health, leads to disputes, litigations, it brings obstructions in life, it leads to financial loss to father, and these are the main issues when Ketu afflicts when Ketu afflicts its house of placement in the 12th house. However, if Sun is strong, utterly strong in the chart, Moon is utterly strong in the chart, Ketu won't be able to influence. Saturn is also strong in the chart. Venus, Mercury are also in the chart. If these concerned planets are utterly strong in the chart, despite its affliction, Ketu won't be able to influence the native like that. So in other case, when there are no afflictions in the chart, Ketu does not afflict at all in the chart, it does not create any problem, but it leads to problem only during its antardasha, and that problem itself is comparatively quite low, depending on the other factors like strength of the other planets in the chart. So this is all about Leo ascendant with Ketu in the 12th house. Do subscribe the channel, hit the bell icon in order to get notified for the upcoming videos like this. And it becomes a cause of concern when Lagna rises in a Ketu nakshatra. That becomes a serious problem. So let us move to Virgo ascendant. Virgo ascendant, in case of Virgo ascendant, as I said, that Ketu creates extremely worst problems, and Mars is the most malefic planet for Virgos. And in case Ketu is placed in the 12th house, it activates the negative significations of 12th house, and it becomes a cause of concern when it afflicts its house of placement in the chart. In case it gives affliction in the chart, it leads to loss of mental peace, loss of sleep, and it leads to heavy expenses, it leads to loss of money, it leads to marital issues as well, issues with respect to foreign settlement as well, issues in the left eye if Sun or Moon are weak, and there are issues with the assets also, there are issues with parents, there are issues with respect to health, disputes, litigations, debts, there are issues with respect to financial losses to father, and it brings obstruction in life. However, if Sun, Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, Mercury, these planets are utterly strong in the chart, Ketu won't be able to influence the native despite its affliction, but the concerned planet should be utterly strong in the chart. However, if the planets are not utterly strong in the chart, they too have to face problems out of Ketu in the 12th house. And other cases, when Ketu does not give any affliction in the chart, it won't create any problem, it does not become a cause of concern for the native, and there are no issues at all. So the problem gets worsened when a Lagna rises in a Ketu nakshatra, isn't it? That becomes a cause of concern. When Lagna rises in the Ketu nakshatra, it means all horoscope as a whole, horoscope as a whole is lorded by Ketu, and Ketu on the other hand gives affliction in the chart, and the sign in which it plays, that's Leo, and the lord of Leo, lord of Sun itself is Ketu in the nakshatra. So in such cases, one faces extremely difficult situations in life. So what could you do? You can't remove Ketu from 12th house, but you can remove the malefic influence of Ketu, isn't it? So this is possible only with the proper remedies for Ketu. And do subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon in order to get notified for the upcoming videos like this. Now let us move to Libra ascendant chart. Libra, as I said, Ketu is a planet of general malefic nature. Do subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon in order to get notified for the upcoming videos. So Ketu is a planet of general malefic nature. One can't expect anything positive out of it, and it creates problem. It becomes a matter of concern when it afflicts its house of placement in the chart. And in case when Ketu afflicts its house of placement in the chart, it leads to serious concerns. It leads to loss of sleep. It leads to loss of money. It leads to loss of mental peace. It leads to heavy expenses. It leads to issues with respect to foreign settlement. It leads to issues with respect to foreign settlement also. It leads to issues with respect to marriage also. There are issues with the assets, there are issues with the parents. It spoils one's health also. Issues with the debts, issues like debts and litigations are also there, and it causes financial losses to father. It brings obstructions in one's life. However, if Saturn, if Venus, Mercury, Mars, Venus, Mercury, these planets are utterly strong in the chart, Ketu won't be able, especially if Mercury is utterly strong in the chart, it will curb the malefic influence of Ketu to the great extent. So if the concerned planets are strong, despite its affliction, Ketu won't be able to impact the native like that. And in case Ketu does not give any affliction in the 12th house, or does not give any affliction in the 12th house, it creates little problem during its Antardasha. That itself will depend on the strength of Mercury, strength of Venus, and other planets on the chart, especially the strength of Mercury and Venus in the chart. So these are the main points that have to be taken into consideration. Now the problem becomes more worsen when the Lagna arises in the Ketu nakshatra, and Lord of Venus itself is Ketu. So that becomes a cause of concern, because the Lagna Lord is lorded by Ketu in the nakshatras. That becomes a matter of concern. And Ketu, on the other hand, gives affliction in the chart, isn't it? So it becomes a serious problem for the native. One is unable to progress in life. There are, one has to face many struggles, many challenges in life. So these are the main points regarding Ketu in the 12th house. Do subscribe the channel, necessarily not to get notified for the upcoming videos like the Scorpio ascendant chart. Ketu in the 12th house, it's not a good placement at all for all the ascendants, including Scorpio ascendant. As I said, Ketu is a planet of general malefic nature. One can't expect anything positive out of it. If Ketu is placed in the 12th house, it activates the negative significations of the 12th house, and Ketu becomes a matter of concern when it afflicts its house of placement in the chart. In case it afflicts its house of placement in the 12th house, it leads to loss of sleep. It leads to loss of sleep. It leads to loss of money. Also, it leads to loss of mental peace. It leads to heavy expenses. There are issues with respect to foreign settlement. There are issues in the left eye. There are issues in the marital life also. And one faces issues with the assets, with the parents. There are issues with respect to one's health, and it causes financial loss to father. There are issues with the it causes obstruction in the life of the native. So these are the main issues when Ketu afflicts its house of placement in the 12th house. However, if Venus, Saturn, Mars are utterly strong in the chart, Ketu won't be able to influence the native to such an extent. The effect felt will be quite low. And on the other hand, if Ketu does not afflict its house of placement in the chart, it creates little problem during its Antardasha, and that itself will depend on the strength of Venus, Saturn, and Mars, isn't it? So these are the main points that one have to be taken into consideration. Do subscribe the channel, hit the bell icon, and not get notified for the upcoming videos like this. Sagittarius ascendant chart. If in case of Sagittarius ascendant, Ketu does not give good results at all. It creates mess rather in case of Sagittarius ascendant. Why? Because Ketu here gets exalted, and Ketu is a planet of general malefic nature. When malefic gets exalted, it creates double dose problem, isn't it? So the problem still worsens with the exalted Ketu in the 12th house. And as I said, that Ketu becomes a matter of concern. Firstly, do subscribe the channel, hit the bell icon in order to get notified for the upcoming videos like this. Now, as I said, that Ketu is a planet of general malefic nature. One can't expect anything positive out of it. When Ketu afflicts its house of placement in the 12th house, it causes loss of mental peace, loss of sleep, loss of money. It causes heavy expenses. There are issues with respect to foreign settlement. There are issues with respect to left eye. One has to face issues in marital life as well. There are issues with the assets. There are issues with the parents. There are issues with respect to health, with respect to debts, with respect to litigations, with respect to disputes. There are issues with respect to continuity of marriage. There are issues with the respect to financial losses to father, and there are it brings obstructions in one's life. So these are the main issues when Ketu afflicts its house of placement in the 12th house, and here Ketu is exalted. And usually when affliction is more than 50%, it becomes a matter of concern in such cases. However, if Jupiter is utterly strong in the chart, Mars is utterly strong in the chart, Mercury, Venus are utterly strong in the chart, Saturn is also utterly strong in the chart, it will safeguard the significations of the houses aspected, and Ketu won't create such mess in the chart. But getting exalted is a problem. and creating affliction, giving affliction in the chart on that. If the Lagna rises in the Ketu Nakshatra, that becomes, the problem still worsens. In such a case, if a Sagittarius ascendant chart, rises, if the Lagna Nakshatra is Ketu Nakshatra, it becomes a problem for the native. However, if Ketu does not afflict its house of placement in the 12th house, it does not create any problem at all. It creates little problem during its Antardasha, and that itself will depend on the strength of the respective planets that I mentioned. So these are the most important points that one has to take into consideration while dealing with Ketu in the 12th house in case of Sagittarius ascendant. Now Capricorn ascendant chart, and as I've said that Ketu is a planet of general malefic nature, one can't expect anything positive out of it. And if Ketu is placed in 12th house, it will create extremely worst problems in life, and it becomes a matter of concern when it gives afflictions in the chart. If it afflicts its house of placement in the 12th house, it leads to loss of memory, it leads to loss of mental peace, it leads to loss of mental peace, it leads to loss of money, it leads to heavy expenses. There are issues with the respect to foreign travel as well, and one has to face issues in marital life as well. There are issues with the assets with respect to parents as well. It spoils one's health. There are issues with like debts. There are issues like litigations and disputes, and it causes financial losses to father. There are issues with respect to obstructions in life. So these are the main issues that one has to face with Ketu in the 12th house, in case Ketu gives affliction in the chart in case of 12th house. However, if Jupiter, if Mars, if Sun, and if Mercury and Venus, they are utterly strong in the chart, Ketu won't be able to influence the native like that. There will be little issues with respect to Ketu in the 12th house. However, if Ketu does not afflict it, there will be issues during its Antardasha only. Apart from Antardasha, there won't be like issues any that. And these are the main points. The problem becomes worsened when Ketu afflicts, when the Lagna rises in a Ketu Nakshatra, or Saturn, the Lagna Lord, is lorded by Ketu, is placed in a Ketu Nakshatra. In such cases, it becomes a matter of concern. There are issues, one is unable to progress and one is unable to get out of the struggles in life. So these are the main points that have to be taken into consideration while dealing with Ketu in the 12th house. Aquarius ascendant chart, as I have said, do subscribe the channel, hit the bell icon, and don't get notified for the upcoming videos like this. And with Ketu in the 12th house, as I have said, Ketu is a planet of general malefic nature. One can't expect anything positive out of it, and Ketu becomes a matter of concern when it afflicts its house of placement in the 12th house or any other house. So if it afflicts its house of placement, it will lead to loss of mental peace, loss of sleep, loss of money, heavy expenses, issues with respect to foreign travel. There are issues with left eye as well, and there are issues with respect to assets in life. There are issues with property issues are there. There are issues with parents also, and it spoils one's health. There are issues like debts. There are issues with respect to disputes, litigations. It causes financial losses to father. There are it brings obstructions in life. However, if Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury, Venus, Moon, these planets are utterly strong in the chart, Ketu won't be able to influence the native like that, isn't it? The influence of Ketu felt will be quite low. In case these planets are weak in the chart, native has to face challenges in life. The other case is that if Ketu does not afflict its house of placement in the 12th house, there will be no issues, and it will cause little issues during its Antardasha only, and that itself will depend on the strength of the concerned planets. And the problem becomes worsened when the Lagna rises in the Ketu Nakshatra. It becomes a matter of concern for the native, and Ketu on the other hand gives affliction in the chart. So that becomes a cause of concern for the native, and native is unable to get out of it. So these are the main points. Do subscribe the channel and hit the bell icon and get notified for the upcoming videos like this. Then comes the Pisces ascendant. In case of Pisces ascendant chart, Ketu gives the same results like other ascendants as well. As I said, that Ketu is a planet of general malefic nature. One can't expect anything positive out of it, and it becomes a matter of concern for the native when Ketu afflicts its house of placement. It afflicts its house of placement in the 12th house. In case it afflicts its house of placement in the 12th house, it leads to loss of mental peace, loss of sleep, loss of money, and heavy expenses, issues with respect to foreign settlement. There are issues in the left eye, and there are property matters issues, and there are issues with the parents. It spoils one's health. There are issues with respect to disputes, litigations, and one has to face debts also. And there are issues with respect to loss of financial loss to father. It brings obstructions in the life of the native. So these are the main issues that one has to face with Ketu in the 12th house, when Ketu is afflicting in the 12th house. In case Ketu is not afflicting, one has to face issues only with the during the Antradasha of Ketu, and that itself will depend on the strength of the concerned planets. However, if Saturn, Sun, Venus, Mercury, they are utterly strong in the chart, native won't face any problem out of Ketu from the 12th house. The impact felt will still be low, isn't it? So in such cases, what will happen, that the impact felt will be quite low, and there will more be issues like that. And these are the main things that one has to go through, one has to face. And problem becomes worse when Pisces ascendant chart, for example, it rises in a Ketu nakshatra. The lagna itself rises in a Ketu nakshatra, and Ketu on the other hand gives afflictions in the chart. One is unable to come out of the struggles in life. One has to face struggle in life, strange challenges in life. So these are the main points that one has to consider with Ketu in the 12th house. So I hope that the podcasters are quite up to the point and you like them. Do subscribe, do hit the bell icon in order to get notified for the upcoming videos, and do comment also what do you feel about the podcasters that I am presenting before you on my channel. It will be a different podcast, no storytelling, to the point analysis will be there. And the podcast is like placement of planets in different houses, Sun in first house, second house, and there are many topics that are yet pending. One by one I will upload all them. And to subscribe the channel and share the videos as much as possible, so that other viewers who are interested in the astrology, they may be able to increase their knowledge, isn't it? So thank you, bye bye.